Hello everyone, welcome back to the Red Path. My name's Jack, and this is episode 23 of WAAC Weekly, the show where we look at Team Red Path news as well as world eaters out in the world. This week, massive 360 games played, holding steady at a 53% win rate, with some very good, massive, even GT and Super Major performances this weekend. 3 RTT event wins and 1 GT event win, as well as a couple of top 20s at WarhammerFest. Get into the video. And the World Eaters Tournament Roundup this week. A lot of games, 360 from 89 players, 57 RTTs, and 32 GT/Super Major performances, including 4 event wins, as I mentioned, 3 of which were RTTs, 20 odd players each, roughly, and a GT win, which was 56, over in Australia, I believe. In terms of rankings, Liam Worzick remains at the top of the leaderboard. He's had an event go through recently that has put him up to 664. Peter Duff is into second on 649, and I believe he had quite a strong WarhammerFest performance, so that's still to come in at time of recording. Calvin Smith has jumped up into third place with 639. Shawna Quinn's 618, still seeing a retention in the top 5 at fourth. Antonius Torman at fifth with 605 ITC points. As for the Red Path, Jamie is in 16th with 463 points. I'm down in 20th with 437. So my RTT last weekend has gone in, but Fest is still to go in, and I did all right. Spoilers. Dara is 47th with 332. Again, with Fest still to go in, and he did better than me, so I would expect that to go up quite considerably because he still only has 3 events, of course. So that 4th event should get him. I would estimate it will get him over the 500 mark, which, if not higher, which should get him probably top 10, which would be nice. In terms of ITC Team Red Path news, as I've mentioned, Dara and I were both in action at WarhammerFest this weekend. It was 359 player Super Major, played across 3 days, so 9 rounds. The way it worked was weird. So there were the first 5 rounds. Your performance in those first 5 games, which were done on, and pairings were done on random first round, and then opponent win percentage within brackets after that. And then after you played your first 5 games, you got put into brackets according to how you'd done. So all the 5-0 people went into a bracket, all the 4-1 people went into a bracket, and then all the 3-2 people went into a bracket, and then 2-3, 1-4, all of that. And you got paired again, random in bracket, based on opponent win percentage. So yeah, it was a long tournament. Not that many people played all 9 games. Dara played 6. So he went 4-1 in his first 5 games, which is obviously really good. And then lost his first game in his bracket, which was the 4-1 bracket. He played Mike Costello from Vanguard Tactics, and it was a very close game. But he ended up at 4-2 and managed 60th place overall, which is very, very good out of nearly 360. Sorry. Obviously a really strong performance. Dara's going to do a separate video where he goes slightly more into his in-depth thoughts, how his games went, that kind of thing. We're going to be putting out a couple of videos about general vibes about the event as well, so don't you worry about that. I, on the other hand, went 3-2 in my first 5 games, and then won my first 2 games in the third bracket, so the 3-2 bracket. I ended up at 5-2 overall. I dropped after my 7th game because I wanted to do a narrative game with Dara, which we will also potentially slip some stuff into one of the videos about because it was very, very funny. So I ended up at 5-2 and ended up at 93rd overall of 360. So I'm less happy with my performance, but I still did all right, I think. I'm also enjoying Dara thinks I've grown as a person because I dropped despite not having lost in my bracket. So there was an opportunity for me to go as high as like 70 something if I'd carried on playing. But I dropped to play a narrative game instead. So apparently that's character growth. Yeah, very fun event. We'll go into our games in a bit more detail. So my losses were to first loss was to Custodes, failed a lot of charges, he rolled a lot of sixes on Tanglefoot's. My second loss was to a Warhammer Mirror, who's someone who ended up in the top 20, someone whose list we're going to look at later on. But for a more in-depth breakdown, go watch our other videos, which will be out later this week, probably, hopefully. Yeah. In terms of other World Eaters tournament performances, there were 12 really strong performances, so finishing in the top 15% of their events. So that's 12 lists into the Matrix this week. We will be taking a look at the top 4 lists, all finishing in the top 5% of their events. So up first, we have Joe Loke, who won the Jolt Games Grim Series 3 RTT. 19 players, he went 3-0, and this is his list. So, Invocatus, no, not Invocatus, Lord on Juggernaut with Berserker Glaive, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 Berserkers, only one icon, 3, 3, 4, 8 bound, 9 Exalted 8 bound, 2 spawn, a Rhino, and Angron with his Warlord trait. Yeah, it's a pure World Eaters Angron list, so that's great. Berserker Glaive. The Juggernaut Lord, the +2 inch move buff is still very good for core. It gives you a lot of mobility even if you only have one of them. Berserker Glaive can spike really handily, and Strength 9 is pretty nice because yeah, he goes up to Strength 9 in the first round of combat, I believe. Maybe I played that wrong. I don't think I have. It's either Strength 8 or Strength 9, so functionally not that different. But yeah, so yeah, 3, 3, 4, and 8 bound. Sure, 10, 8 bound. You don't really need the big squads so much without Invocatus, or that it does maximize your TCP fight and death, I guess, if you have big squads. Lots of berserkers, of whom I have a newfound respect after the weekend. Loads of exalted state bound, and Angron obviously is great fun. Yeah, so really strong performance. First place at a 19-player RTT. Up next, we have Michael Hooper, who played at WarhammerFest and was actually my round 5 opponent, who put me into the 3-2 bracket. Lovely bloke, plays for Team Iceland as a mercenary, and is a very, very strong player. He finished 17th at WarhammerFest of 359 players, a super major, and he went 8-1. His only defeat was a World Eaters Mirror in round 2. So, yeah, so Invocatus, Warlord trait, Demon Prince with a Helm of Brazen Eye, which is -1 to be wounded relic, Master of Executions, 8 squads of Berserkers, all the Viscerators, 1, 2, 3 with icons, 5 and 2 3s, 8 bound, 3 spawn, 2 rhinos. Very simple list. Very good at trading. Having played this list, yeah, I mean, you have the hammer unit, you have the 5, and then what he did against me was send a 3 as well. If you want to, forward with the pre-game move if you get first, or block stuff with them if you go second. And then 8 squads of Berserkers just make fantastic trading pieces, because if you just chuck them forwards and the opponent like shoots them inadequately, they blood surge all over the place, get loads of movement across the army, or they charge them and then you can interrupt and fight on death for 3 CP total, across like different areas of the battlefield, and it makes trading into them very, very difficult unless you're a very specific kind of shooting army. Which, I mean, they do exist and they are fairly common in the current meta, but just, yeah, a really strong list. And as you might see next weekend, I've made some adaptations based on this. Yeah, so 8-1 obviously went the distance in terms of playing 9 games, which not many people did. Michael was in the 4-1 bracket with Dara, and yeah, won every single game he played in that bracket. So yeah, up next we stay in WarhammerFest, and this is Boris Michev of Bad Moon Cafe. He finished 11th at WarhammerFest, a 359 player super major. Only played 6 games. He won 5 and drew 1, so was undefeated. He also won best overall, so the combination of the tournament results and the hobby scores, which was done after day 2, so after 6 games. Yeah, so obviously incredible performance, and I think everyone was very happy for him to win best overall because he got a golden ticket from that. So an Invocatus with his Warlord trait, Glaive Lord, Master of Executions, 20 Berserkers, all with icons and eviscerators. 5, 4, 3, 8 bound, so 12. 9 Exalted 8 bound, 5 Spawn, and 2 Rhinos. Spawn, I'd imagine to make up points, because what else are you spending 50 points on? Except maybe another 8 bound, but 5, 4, 3 is interesting, I guess, to maximise the pre-game move, so a 5 and a 4. 20 Berserkers, fairly standard. Master of Executions is a really nice piece I found for, or had it used against me for Data Cry Salvage, just sitting on the back objective and doing the action every turn, with a 6-6 heroic. Pretty nice. Yeah, so a really strong list. Massive congratulations to Boris. I know he's been on the World Eater type a lot recently since the book, and his army is gorgeous. So yeah, big congrats. Finally, we have Wayne Russel, who won the Winter Warfest 2023 event, a 56-player GT, and he went 5-0, obviously. So he had Invocatus with his Warlord trait, he had 20 Berserkers, no icons there. There were 5, 5, 3, 8 bound, so 13. 6 Exalted 8 bound, a Terminator squad, lovely. 3 Power Fists, Chain Fists, so that is a bit anti-vehicle damage stuff. I guess just in case any super heavies. 3 Spawn, 3 quad heavy bolter rapiers. Great, excellent. That's not going to skew anything at all in the Matrix. And then a Rhino with a extra combi bolter and a Havoc launcher by the looks of it to get to 90 points. Yeah, I mean, unorthodox, right? You don't see Terminators too often in the top lists. Yeah, that's really cool. I guess it's waves of Deep Strike, right? And then you can start. So you have 2 waves of Deep Strike, which I would assume are the Exalted and 1 squad of Exalted and the Terminators. And then you have maybe a second squad of Exalted just as an early anti-tank threat or early hard target threat. And then by the time these 2 come in, you've hopefully got the +1 to charge up. Yeah. And then, yeah, obviously loads of 8 bound for the pre-game move. Some Berserkers as cheap trading units and backfield action monkeys. Rapiers for a not inconsiderable amount of firepower. That's 36 shots between the 3 of them. Strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage. Pretty nice into Marines. Or most types of Marines. Not Salamanders or Iron Warriors, but Salamanders? No. The lower list that ignore AP or reduce, take the first pip off AP 1 and 2. Yeah. Really strong performance. Again, obviously, another GT win. There haven't been that many of them, so really good to see. People haven't quite figured out the book, it would seem, or how to play against the book, I mean. So that is good to see. And up next, we have the unit matrix. So this week, there were some people so you will notice that not every list ran Berserkers. But it wasn't a Disciples list, it was just a list that didn't have any Berserkers in it. It was still a World Eaters list. It was a bit weird. Obviously, Invocatus' Warlord trait remaining popular, 7 out of 12. Angron was in the other 5 lists, so everyone was running Angron or Invocatus. Or the Invocatus Warlord trait, sorry. But yeah. The other thing that I wanted to pull out was that there were Knights dropped off a little bit this week, at least in the top lists, and the Knights that were in were Brigands. I know that'll make some members of the Discord quite happy. I think, honestly, just depends on a given matchup and a given player skill. So I am not doing my bit for executioners, apparently. Yeah, and then I mean we get down into the weeds. There's the trip rapier battery. Someone took a Lamb Raider, someone took a Hellbrute, someone took a Dreadclaw that wasn't Dara. Dara just fell outside this top 15%, by the way. I think he's he's in the top 17%. So didn't make me talk about his stupid list. He's getting a whole video to talk about it. I can trash it here. It's fine. Yeah, and then also interesting is that only one spawn was consistent across all lists. Most people, almost everyone ran 2 spawn, and then still like 3/4 ran 3 spawn. So they are going nowhere. Also, a high number of berserkers actually. So 15 berserkers. I will be trying something silly like that myself. I'm running 35 berserkers next weekend, so that will be interesting to look at. Yeah. And finally, the great game. Taking a look at the number of Godline Legion players for each gods. We continue to soar. Death Guard have had a pretty strong week this week, but we continue to soar. Last place, Emperor's Children, 121. Third place, Thousand Suns, 253. Death Guard gained about 50 this week, going up to 401. And World Eaters are still up at 490. Crack that 500 mark next week, I would expect. Yeah, so obviously really good to see World Eaters still gaining popularity, people catching up with their hobby, bring them out to events. Really good to see. And I think there were 15 World Eaters players people who registered as World Eaters at on BCB at Fest this week, which was great. There were a lot of mirror matches. I know that friends of the channel, Townbrook and Alistair Notman, both played many mirrors. I think Dan played 1. Alistair had 2 in a row. That adds to the one that I had. So yeah, it also seemed that we just ran into each other a lot, and I guess knocked each other out a lot. So it was great to meet so many World Eaters there, and we did meet a lot of people there, which was great fun. You may have seen we bumped into Tabletop Tactics there, which was amazing. Just really nice meeting loads of people from the Discord as well, and getting drunk with them. But yeah, so join the Discord, and you too can be part of our piss ups when we go to big events, if that's your bag. Join the Discord. Like, comment, subscribe for the video. Helps us with the reach. We're trying quite hard to get our names out there, the Red Path name out there. So anything you can do to help that is much appreciated by all 3 of us. Yeah, but most importantly, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill me burn.